Well, it's an evening of severe weather in the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, and our Joe Rayo will be doing
Rayon?
Rayon. Joe Rayo will be doing Rayo's radars as only he can, because I can't even pronounce his name. And we'll talk about maybe some more severe weather risk for tomorrow and for Thursday as well, and take a look at what's going on everywhere else around the country as we move into another evening of fun and excitement here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Keeps the live stream commercial free, except for this and the next ad. If you shop the Amazon referral link pinned to the top of the chat board, just use that as your way of getting to Amazon. Shop for your stuff, and Amazon will send us a little bit of coin back for the pleasure of sending you there. And it doesn't cost you one extra cent out of your own pocket. It's an easy, wonderful way to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And we encourage you to do it if you'd like. And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board tonight. It's also on the descriptor to this podcast, as is the Amazon link too. And if you use the coupon code SUMMER 2025, Joe Rayo, what will they get?
They will get 10% off.
Yes, they will.
There you are. Yes.
So, very busy on the radars over by you, so we might as well just go right to it, shall we?
Surely, I must tell you that once again tonight on the radar views that I am about to present, there are some funky frames, but I think you'll be able to get a pretty good idea of what is going on as far as precipitation and weather is concerned. We've got a lot to talk about, and we'll start with the Upton radar, and you can see that we do have activity, mostly covering the state of New Jersey, although we are seeing some activity also well off to the north and west up toward Monticello. The area that is located down here in Ocean County, up until a few minutes ago, was under a tornado warning. They were seeing on radar either hook echoes or rotation of some sort, suggesting or indicating that tornadic activity was indeed brewing, and so they being the National Weather Service over in Mount Holly, indicating or suggesting that a tornado warning was necessary for this area. But notice, if you will, that as we move through time here, this activity, the reds begin to diminish to more of a orange and yellowish coloration, which seems to indicate that as they approach the coast, these storms are weakening just a bit. Nonetheless, some of the activity in New Jersey is certainly capable of producing drenching downpours and very strong and gusty winds. And you can see here again, this is from Philadelphia, that area marching in from eastern Pennsylvania, and marching, I should say, very quickly, probably on the order of about 40 miles per hour to the east. And again, most of the storms that we're looking at here seem to be diminishing now on the final few frames of the loop, but again, still potent enough probably to produce heavy-duty rains and some locally strong gusty winds. And most of the activity also apparently from just about the lower Hudson Valley and points south. Areas to the north not really seeing all that much in terms of dynamic or potentially severe weather, but down to the south, that's where the action has been fast and furious. We'll take a look at another radar here. This will be from Dover Air Force Base, Ellendale, and you can see this line of showers and storms, which seems to be breaking up a little bit, again, as it approaches the coast. But again, areas of orange and red suggesting that the activity does hold the threat of bringing gusty winds, heavy drenching rains, and again, moving at a fairly quick pace, around 40 miles an hour from west to east, and covering not only the state of New Jersey, but also entering northern Delaware and covering the rest of Delaware as well, and also portions of eastern Maryland. In fact, the Mets are playing tonight in Baltimore, but Baltimore's back over here, so they may have had rain there, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any kind of a significant rain delay now, because most of the heaviest weather is now east of the Washington-Baltimore area. In fact, why don't we take a look at Washington, D.C. and Sterling, Virginia. And you can see here's the nation's capital, and there again is that line or area. And again, I apologize for the funky frames that are mixed in with the radar loop here, but I think you get a good idea that there is some significant lines of or bands of showers and storms which are beginning to weaken some now as we approach sundown, moving across again Delaware, Maryland, and now over into portions of northern Virginia as well. And
Joe, I
Joe,
just
as I
want to
mentioned,
interrupt you for 1 minute because I've got it set up now. You can't hear it, but I'm on Tornado HQ, and they have that alarm that goes off, like the NOAA weather radio alarm when a severe thunderstorm warning comes up. So I was just sort of testing it, and we have a new severe thunderstorm warning, and this is in Blaine, Cato, Custer, and Washita counties in Oklahoma. Okay. Severe thunderstorm located 5 miles north of Hydro, moving south at 10 miles an hour. And I do want to mention also that um, there's a severe thunderstorm over Sayreville near Perth Amboy, moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. That warning is going to expire in about 18 minutes at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And there's a severe thunderstorm warning up for Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and yeah, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island in New York City. We have a one in Middlesex and Monmouth County that's expiring 2 minutes from now, and then there's also a severe thunderstorm warning in Virginia, in Southampton, Surrey, Sussex, and the Isle of Wight. Wight, Wight. Okay, and then we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that now has been issued for the Isle of Wight, Southampton, Surrey, and Sussex County in Virginia. And that is there's a severe thunderstorm near Wakefield, so right near where the Weather Service office is.
okay, so indeed, it was very active this afternoon. Interestingly, the severe thunderstorm watch that was posted by the National Weather Service, as I said, the northern edge got up to just about the lower Hudson Valley. They did put out a mesoscale discussion for central and southern New England and adjacent eastern New York, but they said the odds of them posting a watch there was only about 20% because they really didn't think the dynamics fit the possibility of severe weather, although they did say that there could be some isolated severe storms up in that direction. They didn't issue a watch for, again, eastern New York and New England, but that watch that was in effect and is beginning to slowly shrink now as the evening wears on up until 9 o'clock tonight, did extend from just about the lower Hudson Valley, points south and west across much of New York City, New Jersey, eastern sections of Pennsylvania, all the way down into the Maryland, Delaware area. But again, with the passage of time now, that box or that area is getting smaller as the thunderstorms rapidly race to the east and eventually will be moving certainly by 8:30 or 9 o'clock offshore.
And just as a reminder to everybody, if you're watching this, if you're not watching this live and you're watching this on a replay, obviously everything is dated. So right now it's 7:45 p.m. Eastern time. So you want to check on whatever severe weather is going on in your neck of the woods. Make sure you go to weather.gov to your local National Weather Service forecast office and get the latest weather information for severe weather in your area. I got the watches and warnings map up. We still have a couple of counties, uh, looks like north and west of Austin, where we have some in Texas, where we have a couple of flash flood warnings up there. And there's also one county near Dallas, southwest of Dallas Fort Worth, that's got a flash flood warning. And we're seeing some flood watches and some severe thunderstorm warnings popping up in parts of southern New Mexico. So we still have this tropical moisture that's coming up from the Pacific. You can see in the east, the red boxes are all flash flood warnings, and there's a lot of them in southeastern Pennsylvania and northeastern Maryland. And this is the danger in this sort of situation like this, is you get these thunderstorms. They're not particularly fast moving, and they are playing with a very tropical air mass. I mean, dew points today were in the low to mid 70s with temperatures up over 90. So you had an atmosphere that not only felt ripe, but it also was ripe for some strong thunderstorms. Even Long Island is getting some thunderstorm activity, where normally you see those storms kind of fall apart. So there you go. The satellite loop tonight showing lightning strikes. It looks like the lightning strikes, it looks to me as if they have just, well, they're still pretty active. There's quite a few lightning strikes going on. The northernmost cell looks like it's right over southern areas of New York City, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Queens. And then they, are continuing in southeastern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey and down into Maryland and into northern Virginia. And all of this continues to move slowly to the east. The ground, by the way, especially in southeastern Pennsylvania and in eastern Maryland, is saturated from over the weekend with the remnants of Chantal. So we're in a situation here where it's not going to take much heavy rain in order to set off some flash flooding. And indeed, we can see that with all the warnings that we have up. A lot of patchy activity going on across the South, particularly back in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Oklahoma, and also some storms moving through central Illinois into southern Kansas. Some stuff blowing up, not a whole lot in eastern Colorado, and you can see in New Mexico. Actually, most of that stuff is moving around an upper high to the west. It's actually moving from north to south. Most of the tropical moisture, I stand corrected, has basically retreated. So it's working with whatever's up there in the atmosphere. So it's kicking off some scattered thunderstorms and some heavy rains there. And you can see the wide view of the radar. The green boxes, looks like there's 6 or 7 counties in southeast Pennsylvania and in northeastern Maryland under flash flood warnings. The yellow boxes are all severe thunderstorm warnings. And again, that area just sliding slowly to the east. Some scattered stuff in western Virginia, across Tennessee, in parts of Georgia. There's a very small cell that's well to the northwest of me. So I was kind of hoping that we would get a thunderstorm here today, just put down some rain. Heavier activity in some cells moving from Oklahoma and Arkansas down into northeast Texas into the Louisiana state line, also in northern Mississippi, and along the coastal bend of Texas, we're seeing some showers and thunderstorms. But in central Texas, where we had that devastating flooding over the weekend at the Mystic campgrounds, the radars are, for the first time in days, just quiet for the moment. And you can see the other scattered activity up back through Kansas and Colorado and New Mexico. Now, the Storm Prediction Center, we can kind of go right to tomorrow. I think that probably makes more sense. So, you know what's going on tonight. Now, the Storm Prediction Center, Joe, has a marginal risk tomorrow up to New York City, and now they have a slight risk for southern New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, into North Carolina. You don't have to go overly far. If you go up to the middle part of New York State and points northward and up in New England, no thunderstorms are forecast. And we are going to see a little bit more of a south wind tomorrow. So I'm not so convinced that they're going to extend this further to the north.
I don't think so either. We might have just enough of a onshore flow to at least keep the threat of severe weather out of our local area. Although, as you can see, marginal risk level 1 on the 1 to 5 thunderstorm severity index scale extends from north central New Jersey and points south. You get into South Jersey and points south. You get into the slight risk. But I don't think we're going to be seeing that happen in New York. I would just simply, when we get into the general thunderstorm zone, I don't even say thunderstorms. I just say thunder showers. But
Oh,
again, even
I never liked that word.
thunder showers,
Never liked it.
well, showery rains or whatever, whatever you want to call it. Even if you don't get into the severe zone, the fact that it is so very humid with those high dew points that are going to persist for quite a few days means that any one particular thunderstorm or even a localized shower could bring down a very heavy amount of rain in a very short interval of time and lead to flash flooding. Nothing like what they saw down in Texas, thank goodness, but still, if you live in an area of poor drainage or an area that is tends to be flood prone, then you may have to deal with that. I think, Joe, actually, most of tomorrow should be dry. I think we'll begin to get into another round of wet weather here late in the day tomorrow, carry over into tomorrow night. And if you want a wet day or a day with the ongoing risk right from the get go of showers or rain or thunderstorm, then Thursday is the day. Thursday, I think we'll be seeing that some of the activity will persist through much, if not all, of the day on Thursday.
The marginal risk tomorrow also extends down through South Carolina into eastern Georgia, and I'm kind of on the edge of that here in North Georgia. Also, a marginal risk in eastern Michigan and northwest Ohio. Marginal risk from Kansas northward up through North Dakota and west across Montana, with a small area of slight risk in south central North Dakota and north central South Dakota. Somehow I got that right. And then on Thursday, SPC has a marginal risk from eastern Georgia all the way up to New York State and Vermont and New Hampshire. Now, this one, I think you might find that the inland areas could see a slight risk added to this, in my never to be humble opinion.
I would agree. I think you'll be right that we may very well see uh, the potential for strong to even severe weather in that marginal risk zone. I would agree also with you that they may add a zone of slight risk of severe weather. You look at that and look how broad, look how large that area is. It's all the way from, well, geez, if they were to continue that, or if they were actually able to supply um, Canadian province of Quebec or Ontario, that probably would continue well up into those provinces, and it continues all the way south, right on down through the Carolinas and into the boundary zone between South Carolina and Georgia. So, yeah,
There's also, we have marginal to slight risk in the central and northern plains from northwest Texas all the way up to North Dakota, east into Minnesota and Iowa, and a slight risk across Nebraska, western Iowa, and northern Kansas. I don't think there was anything in the long range other than predictability too low. And we're in this sort of situation here for the next number of days where there's probably going to be some thunderstorm risk in varying degrees. Some days very low, other days not so low.
yes, yes, and
Right.
but if you're hoping for some nice, cool, dry Canadian air, and we discussed this at length yesterday. We went all the way out, and some of the frogs all the way out to what 384 hours or whatever. There doesn't seem to be in the immediate future or the distant future any kind of a trough digging down from Canada that would allow for the flow to come out of the northwest and bring in a fresh, dry, clean air mass. It looks like the ridge of high pressure is going to be basically in control, maybe right on through the next 1 to 2 weeks.
Rainfall amounts, again, this is, in a way, it's almost useless to use this, at least from a standpoint of trying to be specific, because when it's convection, you could certainly wind up with areas that get double or triple the amounts that are forecast, depending on where you are. And then, of course, you get much less in areas that, sort of miss out. But in general, over the next 7 days, from central New Jersey down into North Carolina and even parts of South Carolina, you've got areas of an inch and a half plus, and an area of 2.5 to 4 inches being indicated in parts of eastern Virginia, and just touching eastern Maryland and the Maryland part of the Delmarva Peninsula, and also seeing anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half across the central and northern plains. Drought is not an issue this at the moment in much of the country. The West is going to be dry, and they should be this time of year for the most part, with little to no rain over the next 7 days or so. Let's look at the what the models are doing for tomorrow. I'm going to widen out to the upper air first. And while I'm doing that, let me just say welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. And to those of you who are watching in the background, or maybe if you're here for the first time, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a big storm around. And we'll always let you know if we're adding an extra show or two. So subscribe, turn your notifications on. And of course, if you like the show, please hit the like button because we like it very much when you hit the like button. And the chairman, Scott Perler, hitting super chat tonight. Thanks for hitting the tip jar, Scott, and saying that the missing in the Texas floods could be in the hundreds. Apparently, I saw somebody on the chat board, just very quickly to touch upon this. Somebody on the chat board said that there's still 173 missing. I don't know if you've heard anything additional today, Joe.
No, I have not. They have just simply said that there are likely more missing. I would have thought that the missing would be numbering in the dozens, but sadly, it may very well be that we may have more than 100 people still out there that have not been accounted for. It is a very, very sorry and sad situation.
All right, let's look at the upper airflow because we're in a we don't have we have a ridge off the east coast, and we have also on the we're kind of on the edge of sort of a southwest flow around that high, and while you're seeing a northwest flow in the atmosphere, the problem with this is that it's not a particularly strong northwest flow for one thing, and there are little short waves. They're almost hard to see. There are little short waves that are just moving along in the flow, and it seems like each afternoon and evening we're going to get one of these short waves to come through. Some days they'll be stronger than others. There's one for tomorrow. Actually, there's sort of troughing here that hangs around in the eastern part of the United States. There's probably a little upper low there in eastern Canada. So you've got, uh, let's call it a gentle trough that runs down into the Appalachians, but there's enough there, and combined with the tropical air around that you're going to set off some thunderstorms. And then Friday, there's another little kink that's going to try to come by. And you'll notice there's an even stronger kink in the flow where you see that blue area that develops over in Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Iowa. So that probably means that there could be some severe weather in the upper Midwest come Saturday. And then that lifts up into Canada. And, we're still going to be in this sort of, kind of on the edge of this westerly flow, little ripples that move along. There's a ridge, some ridging that builds to the south later next week, but never really builds up the eastern seaboard. I'm looking for something that says let's bring down some cool air from Canada, but unfortunately, if you're just on the edge of this flow, it's going to be very hard to bring down anything reasonable as far as drier air. You may get an intrusion every once in a while, barely, behind one of these short waves, but whatever that is, it's not going to last very long. You kind of need this trough to get down, much further south and east. And most Julys, it doesn't happen. You kind of have to wait till August to start seeing something like that happen. Um, I guess the one interesting thing to me, Joe, is the fact that we do have a flow from Canada that extends fairly far south into the United States, and you're not seeing big, huge upper highs building anywhere, which is, would be tantamount to a big heat wave. You're not seeing that, but you are going to be in these sort of steamy conditions for a while.
Yeah, it doesn't look like again we're going to see a lot of these troughs as they try to get into the central and eastern part of North America. They seem to shear off. I think what's going to have to happen, Joe, is that we're going to have to wait for enough cool air or chilly air to gradually build up over the polar regions, and eventually there'll be enough so that cold air being dense, it'll just simply build and then slide southward or slide downward. But that may not happen until perhaps August. When we're more than a month or 6 weeks past the summer solstice, and it allows for some of that cooler air to start building over the northernmost portion of the globe. But again, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing much of anything along those lines for at least the next week or two, and maybe even beyond that.
And when we look at what's happening, at least in the eastern part of the United States, it seems that at least every day from now through the weekend, there's going to be some, as I said earlier, there's going to be on some thunderstorm risk. In some places, it'll be higher on some days than others. Tomorrow, you can see what's going on tonight that the models picked up on it. Now here's tomorrow, where the main action seems to be from central New Jersey all the way down into Georgia, and the European at least is developing some very strong cells across Virginia, West Virginia, and Western North Carolina, and a lot of these are going to be big rain producers. Then they kind of peter out a bit as we go into the overnight. Then we move into Thursday, and here we go for Thursday morning, where apparently there's some kind of little ripple going by with some showers and storms around um, during the morning hours on Thursday, continuing on and off into the afternoon and evening. And then that goes out further to the east. We move into Friday. Friday, again, more scattered, at least across eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, a little more numerous when you go south from Virginia down into the deep south. Saturday, they pop up again, not everywhere, but here and there. And then they go away. And then Sunday, we got what looks like there's a low with some strong storms that moves through the Great Lakes. We mentioned that upper trough before. That low goes up towards James Bay, and there's like a trailing front, and we're sort of on the southern end of that front. And it does seem to want to bring some showers and storms Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. Again, no real dry air behind it, still on the, very warm to hot and on the humid side. And we just, go into next week where we actually do have a couple of days next week, uh, say maybe after Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday and into Thursday where there's not minimal, if any, thunderstorm activity in the eastern part of the United States. A couple of other things I just want to bring up. The Weather Prediction Center, this was for tonight, where they had a large area of slight risk. That's 15 to 40% chance for flash flooding from much of Virginia up into southeastern New England. Again, in a lot of areas, the threshold for flooding ain't that high. Tomorrow, it covers central and south Jersey, southeast and south central Pennsylvania, down into Maryland, Delaware, just about all of Virginia and North Carolina except the coast, back to West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. And if we look at day three, and day three being Thursday into Friday, we have a marginal risk up all the way up into Vermont and upstate New York, a slight risk indicated in southeast Virginia and in North Carolina. Also, want to mention that there's a slight risk that's indicated for eastern Nebraska, southeast South Dakota, and into Iowa for Thursday. Not so much for Wednesday. And in Texas, just because in some areas, obviously, it's super saturated. So we've got at least a marginal risk for tomorrow, um, in central and east Texas into Louisiana. And then on Thursday into Friday, there's no risk being indicated for flash flooding. So a bit of a break finally coming from what has been, pretty relentless as far as the rain is concerned. And I'm going to do a quick check on the tropics just to see. And the reason why I'm looking here is because when we look at the GOES satellite, there's an upper low that is sitting east of the Bahamas with some disorganized showers that's been kind of creeping to the west. Nothing much has come of it so far. And the Hurricane Center is not expecting much to come of it because they have tropical cyclone activity not expected for the next 7 days. And in the Eastern Pacific, tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. And in the Central Pacific, tropical cyclone activity is not expected for the next 7 days. So there you go.
Yes, sir.
It is amazing. I can't find my mouse. Where's
If
my
you if you go
mouse?
to if you go to my screen, you might find
Yes, you
I
have
mentioned
the
I
drought
mentioned
monitor.
the drought monitor, and just simply you look at this map, and you can see what Joe had mentioned a little while ago, that if you're in the eastern half of the country, or
Well, we can
even the
only see
eastern,
it's cutting off it's cutting off right near northern Virginia. So we're seeing basically from 35. There you go. Now you got your wide shot. Okay. wide earth shot.
Let me open let me open it up a little bit more. Okay, so how does that look?
Good.
Perfect. So you could see basically what Joe was mentioning is that if you're in basically if you're in the central and eastern United States, the word drought is almost non-existent. Yeah, down in the and this amazes me because when you consider all the rain, and this may actually disappear in the next week or so because they've had quite a bit of rain down in the Florida Peninsula, but they do have areas here that are verging on. Well, let me see here. The moderate drought in the orange. The yellow is abnormally dry. Deeper shade of orange, that would be for severe drought if you want to go that far. But really, across just about everywhere east of the Mississippi, if it's only abnormally dry, that's probably about as bad as it's going to be. Meanwhile, the places that do have problems drought-wise, southern sections of Texas or south central Texas, western Texas, and across portions of New Mexico, Arizona, also as part of southern Nevada, a strip of Colorado going up to the northwestern Montana. Basically, the western part of the country does have problems drought-wise, but it's not really horrible. It's not extensively dry. There are places that have, again, severe drought or what you would call exceptional drought, but again, nothing that covers large sections of real estate out in the West as we have seen in other years. And again, central and eastern United States, hardly anything to be concerned about at all. I do see some shades of yellow in the Northeast for abnormal dry conditions. And so, yes, central and southern sections of New Jersey, remember these areas were under severe or exceptional drought about 4 to 6 weeks ago. Now it's just being indicated as abnormally dry. Same holds for Long Island, and again, a few places in New England, like southernmost Maine and also Cape Cod. But again, here in the Northeast, I'd say about 96 or 97% of the Northeast is drought-free, and that's good.
Excellent. So before we go to Briller Jeopardy tonight, I just want to show you my yard because I finally got to a place where I think I'm finished. I don't want to do any more landscaping after working my tail off for the last 2 months. So I did this video earlier. I actually posted it on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, but I'm going to play it for you now. So here we go.
I think it's time for a fresh tour of the yard since it's pretty much done, although I think I need a 12-step program for gardening addicts. But we've got impatiens, hydrangeas, and then of course there's this monster hydrangea that's right in the front of the house. Then we have the flower bed at the top, which has a mix of New Guinea impatiens, tick seed in the pot, some zinnias, more impatiens. I forgot what these were called. And here's some more impatiens, the bigger plants that are in here. These are crepe myrtles. We're going to walk down the side where we have a ligustrum. These are some butterfly plant. I forgot the name of those. The black-eyed Susans. And then there's my most recent flower bed, which is all roses, petite roses surrounding them. And then we've got this beauty here with these red roses. And these roses here, I planted these 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. This is the Julia Child rose. And it's just, last night, all these buds just opened up. And we'll move on to the rest. We've got a mix of black-eyed Susans and phlox. You can see the daylilies on the ledge here, impatiens along the bottom. In the bigger bed, we have impatiens, 2 rose plants that I rescued from the dead this year. They came roaring back in the last few weeks. We've got a mix of a variety of hydrangeas, lilies, hostas, and I added 2 Delta crepe myrtles, which I found at Home Depot on sale, so I had to grab them. Here's some more lilies. Here we have azaleas, Japanese laurels, which are really good. They're a tropical light plant, but they really handle the cold. They never shed their leaves. Here we have a mix of azaleas and more impatiens. And as we go up to the front, we've got a mixed yard here of impatiens and lilies, azaleas on the side, and then this big bed of hydrangeas, impatiens, and a couple of other plants and vincas in the corner. And of course more hydrangeas that are young, but hopefully next year they'll be in the bloom. And we'll finish off with this beauty. This is my favorite flower in the whole yard.
By the way, I got that blue hydrangea.
I think it's time for a fresh tour.
Sorry, didn't want to have it run again. I got that hydrangea flower to be blue by pouring leftover coffee grinds and leftover coffee. I would feed it with that, and also Miracle Grow acid, because if you've ever grown hydrangeas, if you ever want to change the color of the flower, you just need to adjust the acidity in the soil. The more acid you put in the soil, because they love acid, so the more acid that you put into the soil and lower the pH to somewhere in the 5s, you're going to get flowers that are going to be blue. And if you get closer to 5, you're going to get a deep blue. So I'm very proud of myself. That's 2 months. I started about 2 months ago today, putting it together, and I had it generally done by right before Memorial Day weekend. But since then, I have been just adding things and moving things around, and I finally got it to a place where it was perfect. The rocks, thankfully, they're doing construction here on the main highway, Route 76. So there's rocks from the mountains all over the place. So they're just ripe for the picking. I don't have to pay for it. I'm not paying for them, which is always good. So I'm just I'm very proud of my landscaping job, Joe.
Well, it's beautiful. It really is, Joe.
Thank you.
You should be congratulated. Somebody on the chat board says, "Where's mine?" Renata is the one with the green thumb, not I. And I think she has been trying over the last couple of weeks to get the tomato plants set up and all the other flowers. So maybe I'll in the coming days ahead, maybe we'll take a video and we'll show it here and show what Renata has done. Not me. I have a brown thumb. I don't have a green thumb.
Yeah, and I to me, I just have really, I've always liked to grow gardening and growing things, but I have the time now to just and the space, because I have over an acre here, and I'm in the woods, so I can sort of combine the natural beauty of the woods with, the sort of, I didn't want to make like square flower beds, when you have these rectangular plots, especially on where I was living on Long Island, you had a rectangular plot, so everything was with sharp edges and rectangular. I wanted it to be free flowing and sort of moving around in different directions, and I think I hit that quite well, so I'm very happy. Okay, Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Well, let me ask you a question. Who has Briller Jeopardy?
I have it.
Okay, now may there was a phone call that came in a few minutes ago, and I am being paged or being.
Oh, you got to go?
Forget about it. No, it's the whoever. Well, I know who it was on the phone, but they have now hung up. So I guess they couldn't wait. They could not wait for me to get to the phone. But anyway, all right.
All right, so here we go. It's average highs in the month of July for the following cities, folks. Average highs for the following cities, starting with Charlotte, North Carolina.
Average high temperature in July.
Average high temperature in July.
89 degrees for Charlotte.
That's a very good guess. It's very close. Bobby Livingsworth was the first one to post a number on the chat board, and followed shortly thereafter by Mike Waterhouse Bonsai with 90. 90. All right,
Okay.
Chicago.
Chicago, I will say, not too far behind there. My 89. I'll say 86.
Also very close. Very close. Waiting to see if anybody on the chat board gets it. Vincent Croce, you're almost there. John Melander, 85. And Lou Arizio, 85 for
Okay,
Chicago.
John. There you go. Missed
Dallas.
by one on both of these. What's
Dallas,
the next one?
Texas.
Dallas.
Dallas,
Dallas.
Texas.
Ah, God, that's a toughie because there have been years in the past where they have gone through innumerable days in triple digits, which certainly could push that average high up. I'll say 97.
And you can ring the bell for yourself, Joe, 97.
Oh boy, how do you like them apples, folks?
Detroit.
Detroit, I'll say 85.
Very close again. You're doing quite well tonight, I must add. But Lou Arizio gets it with 84, and so does Frank R. And they're getting
All
these
right.
numbers fast and furious. And the last one tonight, before we do the bonus, is Hartford, Connecticut.
You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say the same thing I just said. 85 for
Ring
Hartford.
the bell for yourself.
There you go.
Okay, and finally, the Valley of Death.
Oh, oh. Lordy.
The
Death
Valley
Valley.
of Death.
How about 123?
No, that's actually way too high, believe it or not. William
Okay.
Hoover is not too far at 118, and Mike Waterhouse Bonsai is almost there at 115. So David Fuller gets it at once, and Chuck Cardillo 116. Joe 116. What does your shirt say tonight?
What does my shirt say? How many of you out there are fans of the TV show MASH? If you are, you'll understand my T-shirt, and I'll show it to you right now. Can you read that, Joe?
Adam's Rib,
Yes.
Chicago's finest. Is that a real place?
I don't think so, but they did a whole episode where after innumerable weeks or maybe months having fish or liver,
Oh,
Hawkeye just went crazy in one episode, saying, I've eaten an ocean of fish, a river of liver. I want something different." And then he remembered Adam's Rib, which was at the Dearborn station right outside of Chicago, the most delicious ribs. And apparently they found other people in Korea who knew of Adam's Ribs as well. And they actually called Chicago from Korea to have like 40 pounds of Adam's Ribs delivered to the 4077.
oh,
And,
okay.
but in
I
order
don't
to
remember
get,
that episode, but
but in order to get to it was one of the early episodes. I think it was the first season actually, but it was, in my opinion, it was one of the funniest episodes. And I think it was my daughter who got me this T-shirt. She saw that and said, "Oh, I got to get that for Dad." And yeah, so if you're into Mash, the days with McLean Stevenson when he led the 4077 before he got killed at the end of the third season, the three best episodes during the McLean Steven era were Adam's Rib, Tuttle, and Sometimes You Hear the Bullet. In fact, that Sometimes You Hear the Bullet is what changed MASH from a comedy into a dramedy, and changed the whole reflection of
reflection of the show.
what the show was like. So
All right.
anyway,
We're going to call it a night. So everybody have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you all back tomorrow at 7:35 p.m. Eastern time. I got my new glasses today, so I'm very happy because now I have 2015 vision and I can actually see and read everything clearly.
wow.
So I'm really thrilled. So we will, and they are Under Armour glasses, by the way, because they got the little green thing here on the end. So we'll see you tomorrow. Night night.
See you tomorrow night, folks.